Welcome in, everyone. This is Your Favorite Game, the show where we bring in guests to talk about their favorite game. Today's episode features Final Fantasy III, released on the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, or it's known as Final Fantasy VI in Japan. We have a great episode planned for you today, and without further ado, let's hop into it. Today, my guest is Reversed. Welcome in. Come on to tell our lovely people about your favorite game.
What's up, guys? So I'm Reversed, and my favorite game that I'll be speaking about today is Final Fantasy VI for the Super Nintendo.
As many people may know, I'm not really much of an RPG guy myself. I don't know much about Final Fantasy VI, also known as Final Fantasy III in North America, correct?
Yeah, so it was like a whole thing back then with them skipping certain games, bringing them over. So we kind of got a mangled mess of numbers on what they did bring over.
How do you like to play Final Fantasy III?
So this is my all-time favorite game. I could pick that up, I could start a new file, I could run through the game beginning to end, and I would enjoy that. And I do it every so often, probably every couple of years or so. But I also do randomizers for it. I really enjoy that as well.
What about this game keeps bringing you back to it? What makes it your favorite game?
So I feel like when it comes to what makes a game good, there are two types of games. There are the games that seem to do everything right, and the games that have that special something, that secret sauce, and you can't really put your finger on why, but it's there. And for me, this is both of them. So I love the story, I love the characters, I love the gameplay. Like, objectively, this game has everything that I want to see in an RPG. But on top of that, there is the secret sauce. For some reason, when I play it, I feel something. I feel genuine joy in my heart. And I don't know why. I don't know why this game connects with me in that way, but it does. And I'm probably always going to love it for that reason.
I absolutely love hearing about that, and the secret sauce, that's just the cherry on top. So if you had to add anything to Final Fantasy III, what would you add to make it more enjoyable for yourself, or to make it a better game in general?
So I think they were onto something when they ported it to the Game Boy Advance later, which is they went back, they added some super bosses, they added a new dungeon, and those are kind of hit or miss. People don't always love those, but that's the type of content that I would like to see added to the original. Like, just when you compare it to a lot of the later games that Square made, or a lot of contemporary RPGs released more recently, I think we're more familiar with endgame content. We've come to expect that in addition to the base game, there's going to be a little bit more for us to do. Something maybe a little bit more challenging to do, something beyond the scope of beating the game. And unfortunately, the Super Nintendo release, the original release, doesn't have any of that. So I feel like that's the one omission that I would love to see. So
to me, personally, again, I've only played the intro to Final Fantasy III, and I didn't even know it had a GBA port. I'm sorry if I'm calling it 3, because that's how I know it as. So if I had to compare it to anything, I would think the re-releases of Kingdom Hearts, and how they add super bosses at the end of the game there, and extra cutscenes and things like that, correct?
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. It's kind of a hallmark of Square at some point that they would do that with their games, right?
Yeah, definitely. So you just want more of your favorite game, that's what you would add.
I'm a very simple man to please. Give me what I know that I like and give me more of it. I will be happy. I will buy it again.
Alright, so tough question here. If you had to remove one thing from the game, what would you remove, and why?
So this is a very specific answer. I gave some thought to this one, and I know a lot of people feel the same way. There is a mechanic in Final Fantasy VI, or 3, that not everybody knows about because it's not communicated well to the player. But when you level up, your stats will change based on the Esper that you have equipped. The Espers being the summons of the game. This is fine because you kind of get a build going, whether you're trying to raise magic or strength or what have you. The problem is, sometimes you'll equip your espers in order to learn certain skills, and then you'll accidentally level up when you weren't meaning to. So for example, you might have a tank character or a physical attacker, but you leveled up without intending to, and suddenly you just wasted that level up because they gained magic or they gained some stat that you didn't want. It results in, if you're trying to really play optimally, you're opening the menu all the time, you're unequipping espers, re-equipping espers all the time, and it's a degree of micromanagement that I don't personally enjoy. So I would like to see that system maybe adjusted or tweaked, even if it's as simple as having an on-screen indicator when you're approaching a level up. It always felt bad to me to accidentally level up, and my character develops in a way that I did not intend for them to do so.
So it's like a super meta thing you would remove.
Yeah.
Like, not something anyone playing super casual plays would come across and know about. Like you said, it was something the game doesn't explain too well.
Right, and I think that's important that I had beaten this game several times without ever considering it. It was never a deal breaker. It was never anything that made me stop having fun. It's just, for a game that does so many things very, very right, that stood out to me as something that maybe wasn't all of that good. That wasn't the best choice.
Alright, so I'm going to leave this next one up to you. If you had to compare any game to Final Fantasy III, what comes close, or what is your second favorite game? And what makes that your second favorite game? Feel free to answer both if you want to answer both.
Yeah, I'd like to answer both.
Oh, sweet, let's go.
This is a fun one. So, my second favorite game is Ocarina of Time. And I don't think that has any similarities to FF6, except that they're both very beloved games, considered like main events of their respective consoles, if you will. But for me, to revisit something that I had said earlier, Ocarina of Time also has the secret sauce for me. For all of the things that it does right, what it really comes down to is that when I look back at that game and my time with it, it is it's one of the most cherished memories I have of gaming as a young child. So it will always mean the world to me in the same way that Final Fantasy VI does. But as far as games that directly compare to Final Fantasy VI, I think you have to give it to its immediate predecessor, Final Fantasy V. And if you put them next to each other, it's clear why I'm saying that. Very similar interfaces, very similar combat. The difference being 6 took the story in a more character-driven direction, whereas 5 really focused on the gameplay. But if you like the gameplay of 6, I have to believe almost certainly you'll also find something to like in 5.
Yeah, I'm definitely with you on Ocarina of Time. That definitely has the secret sauce for me as well. Yeah, as I mentioned a little bit ago, I'm not a big RPG guy. Unfortunately, I would love to play some. I do like a few that I'm not going to get into here, but it's really just a time sink for me. But I did play Final Fantasy VI a little bit before the show, and I put roughly half hour in. Maybe someone could get there faster. I made it to the castle and unlocked the king. Got to name him. And I would be lying if I said when I beat the squadron leader underground, I didn't pop off a little bit because it took me like 3 tries to beat him. And it was my last squadron of the Mughals. I made it there. And I was like, man, every other squad is super low on health. I don't know if I had to do this or not, but I actually beat every single walking soldier first and then made it to the captain.
You absolutely do not have to do it.
Oh my god. So I was like super underprepared going in there and somehow beat him. Used up all my items and just did it.
Proud of you. Yeah, I think going into this, I knew that you're not really an RPG guy, and I asked you as much. But I do appreciate you letting me talk about my favorite game. So.
Oh yeah, definitely. Is there anything else you want to add while we're still here?
Still, I feel like at this point in time, as critically acclaimed and as well loved as this game is by the people who have played it, I feel like a lot of Final Fantasy fans still are sleeping on it. So, I guess for anybody who has played maybe the later games, who has played 7, who has played 10, but haven't played this one, I think it's worth your time to look into it. I think those type of players would enjoy it.
Alright, that sounds good to me. Alright, Reverse, tell people where we can find you at.
Alright, so primarily you can find me at Twitter at Reversed02. I spend way too much time there. And that's the big one, just Twitter.
Alright, thank you so much for being on, my friend. I appreciate you. Make sure everyone go follow Reverse on Twitter. And while you're here, like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.